Juicy trade rumors here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. Could an LSU standout wide receiver be headed to New Orleans? We're going to have the conversation here. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. My name is Trace Girouard. You're watching Saints Now. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and you got to spend some time with your friends and your family and your loved ones. So let's start this conversation off by adding a little bit of context here. The Jacksonville Jaguars. They recently signed wide receiver Jakobi Meyers to a 3-year contract extension. Now, this comes after the Jags traded for Jakobi Meyers at the NFL trade deadline. And so when it comes to a potential option for the New Orleans Saints, well, I beg the question, does that mean a certain other wide receiver now becomes a part of the trade block? Jakobi Meyers' extension, to me, says that the Jaguars really view him as a focal point of their offense. So does that now make Brian Thomas Jr., the LSU wide receiver, the Louisiana native, does that make him available? I don't know. We're going to talk about it and what he could provide to the New Orleans Saints here right now. But first things first, I want to ask you, would you trade for Brian Thomas Jr.? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. Share your thoughts down below and get active in the comment section. I want to start this conversation off by kind of giving you a little synopsis of what's been going on with BTJ since he was drafted in the first round out of LSU. In 2024, his rookie campaign, he lit it up for Jacksonville. But in 2025, I think it's fair to say in 12 games played, he's been a little underwhelming. Like, I'm not going to say that he's been bad, but for the standards of BTJ, you see what he was capable of versus what he's doing. So to me, that says the Jacksonville Jaguars, they value Brian Thomas Jr., but they invested already in Jakobi Meyers. Obviously, they have time to make a decision on whether or not they're going to extend Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think that that's something that really needs to be talked about quite yet because he's still in the infancy of his career. But I can tell you, if for some reason Brian Thomas Jr. is available, Kellen Moore, Mickey Loomis, they need to be picking up the phone. They need to be making the call because BTJ back in the boot would be absolutely electric. And I firmly do believe that the New Orleans Saints wide receiver department is an area that could use a big facelift. And it's a position that you can invest in the trade department. You can go explore free agency. You can draft a guy. But when you talk about a player who has already been an effective part of an offense, somebody who has the familiarity with the NFL and with Louisiana, I think that it does make some sense to at least make a call. The Jacksonville Jaguars, we know that they're a team that has been very interested in making trades in the past. We know that they are an organization that's always looking to upgrade. So for me, I think Brian Thomas Jr. would be such a fun addition. I think he would be another safety blanket that could be complementary to Chris Olave and Devaughn Vele and the guys you already have on the roster, while also providing another weapon and a reliable, high-level, highly productive player who's drafted in the first round, has all the pedigree you want. I think that this could be a really fun addition. I want to talk more about Brian Thomas Jr. here in just one sec, but first things first, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Polymarket. It's time to challenge the status quo, and Polymarket is now live to help us do so. You can be a part of the revolutionary alternative to sportsbooks with our special invite code CHAT. Download Polymarket's new app now via the special link that's in the description and comments to unlock exclusive early access and free $10 into your account with the invite code CHAT. Polymarket is a prediction marketplace that lets you make trades on the outcomes of sporting events. And as you can see right here on your screen, you can even buy and sell within a game with the live trading. Polymarket has the lowest fees ever, and you trade against other people, not the platform. You can cash out at any time and react to momentum swings within the game. You are in control. It's legal and available nationwide in all 50 states, on their iOS app now. For this week's Saints game, Polymarket is giving New Orleans a 58% chance to win, which is absolutely awesome, and that's where I am riding as well. I'm on the Saints this week, a team who has been red hot recently. $10 for free is waiting for you. No card, no deposit, nothing. Download the app with our exclusive code CHAT at chatsports.com/polymarket for exclusive early access and $10 free. All that information is in the comments and description of this video. Appreciate Polymarket for sponsoring today's video, but let's get back on topic with Brian Thomas Jr. When it comes to the trade compensation and what it would cost, I don't think a trade would necessarily be cheap. I do know when it comes to Brian Thomas Jr., he was a player that was getting a lot of buzz at the NFL trade deadline in 2025. And at the time, the asking price was at least a second-round pick and some playmakers or some contributors and some high-level contributors. So for now, I think that it's fair to say a trade won't come cheap a little bit later. And back in October, the Jacksonville Jaguars were actually very, very open, saying that they were not interested in trading Brian Thomas Jr. That was before they traded for Jacoby Myers. That was before he had taken the rest of the season and hadn't really picked up the production. So for me, I'm not saying that a Brian Thomas Jr. trade is inevitable or it's going to happen, but things can change. Things do change, and to say it's impossible in a world that we live in nowadays where the impossible is happening every single day, it's not that far off to say maybe this is something that could at least be explored. Remember that the Jags don't have a first-round pick, so they now are going to need to find a way to recoup some draft capital, because remember they traded up and they went and got Travis Hunter and all that, so maybe they're looking to bring in some draft capital in return. I'd say for the New Orleans Saints, best case scenario, you only send a second-round pick. Like that's best case scenario. Like realistically, maybe they ask for a first-round pick just because he's a player that teams are going to be wanting. And, when you have the keys to the kingdom, you get to be greedy. But I think that it's also fair to say maybe it's like a second in some players, or maybe it's a third in some players or something like that. So when it comes to the New Orleans Saints in 2026, it is worth noting you do have a handful of players that will return from injury because some of these guys are on IR. Actually, there's only 2 guys on this list that are under contract in 2026 that are currently healthy. Devaughn Vele, Bub Means, Jalen Polk, Trey Palmer, all 4 of those players are on IR. The Saints traded for Devaughn Vele in the preseason of the 2025 year, and Jalen Polk, he was traded for shortly after. He was already on IR. He was not going to return this year. Trey Palmer was claimed off of waiver wires. Bub Means was a draft pick a couple of years ago. He's had some trouble staying on the field. But when it comes to the wide receiver department, I do think that it's fair to say you could use a little bit of a facelift, and that's no disrespect to the guys on the roster. It's simply I believe that there is a way to upgrade and improve the wide receiver room. And for the New Orleans Saints, Tyler Shuck, the offense, Kellen Moore, every single person tied to the organization, you need to give Tyler Shuck every reason to succeed. You cannot short him of a good offensive line. You cannot short him of quality weapons. We know that he can win in spite of adversity, but we need to see the Saints do right by their quarterback they drafted 40th overall and give him the best chance to succeed. Because here's the situation. Even if things do fail with Tyler Shuck, I don't think they will, but even if they do fail and we're at the end of his rookie contract and we're sitting here saying, well, we got the whole roster, and Shuck isn't the guy. Go get a quarterback, and we have the keys to the kingdom, and we can run this thing. The alternative, in which I think is more realistic, is you put pieces around Tyler Shuck. He only gets better. The team gets better. They are more productive. They are more respected, more feared, and they're winning the conference. They're winning the division. They're competing for Super Bowls. They're back in the postseason. Like, that's where I think we should be striving to get to. Now, I'm going to tell you guys to subscribe to the channel. Join us live on Sunday. Saints versus Titans. 2 games left, but this is going to be a fun one. Cam Ward versus Tyler Shuck. Who's going to win? Saints are red hot. The Titans just beat the Chiefs. It's going to be a fun game. So make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, and tune in 1 hour before kickoff for our pregame show. The Saints, in my personal opinion, when it comes to adding wide receivers, you can talk about trading for players. You can talk about signing players. I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, no questions asked, no debate, no conversation whatsoever. The New Orleans Saints absolutely should draft a wide receiver. And for some wide receiver draft targets, I have 5 players. You can either go first, maybe go second. I don't know where you're going to have to land some of these guys, but 5 players. If you land on any of these 5 wide receivers, I think it's a good selection. Carnell Tate is my wide receiver 1 in this draft class. Would absolutely love to see him swap out the scarlet and gray or scarlet and red, whatever. I'd like to see him swap out the Ohio State colors, continue that pipeline, and get to New Orleans. Jordyn Tyson, a very productive football player, has a little bit of an injury history. Makai Lemon, Denzel Boston. I love Casey Concepcion. He could potentially be that Rashid Shaheed replacement. He has the special teams versatility, the return ability, and I think when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, drafting a wide receiver is a must. Last year, you did not draft a wide receiver. You did not do enough to invest and add to the wide receiver department. So for this year, I don't think you necessarily just have to stop at drafting one. You should be prioritizing the wide receiver position. Like I just said, you need to build around Tyler Shough. Give him every reason to succeed. Give him no reason to fail. And I'm a firm believer, there's a handful of positions. There's no conversation. There's no such thing as too many of these players. Defensive backs, you can never have too many defensive backs. Wide receivers, you can never have too many wide receivers. There is no such thing as too much wide receiver depth. God forbid we have some wide receivers that are really, really high-level players, that are really, really talented, that are just waiting to become bigger parts and bigger focal points of the offense. And in the meantime, they're high-level quality depth players with a lot of pressure off of their shoulders. Like, I think when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, the wide receiver position for me is one of the biggest needs. You got to add talent, raise the overall talent level, and bring in some dogs, bring in some playmakers that can help contribute at a high level. Now, how big of a need is wide receiver this offseason? Scale it for me, 1 to 100. If it's a 1, that means it's not a need at all. If it's 100, then it's the biggest, most glaring, most obvious, number 1 priority of a need that the Saints need to add. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's video. As always, my name is Trace Girouard. You're watching Saints Now by Chat Sports. Hope y'all had a wonderful holiday week, and we will see y'all next time. Y'all stay golden.